in this video I would go over some details about the airbrush system I use, the Copic Airbrush system, and the compressor. One of the subscribers on my channel did pick up an airbrush from Harbor Freight, and she ordered the air adapter for her existing trigger. She had the canned air, and she was able to buy just this can that is an adapter. So she bought a compressor and this can adapter, and she was concerned that she's hearing a hissing sound. So I thought I would make a video with a little bit more details about my setup. Maybe it will help you find the parts that you need, and then also help Sue troubleshoot the hissing sound. Mine is a Iwata Studio Series Smart Jet, and so it was kind of expensive, I think, probably around $200, I would say. But you can get them at Harbor Freight and other places for less than that. Not this brand, but something like it. But my recommendation would be to get a compressor that you can control the PSI to 50 PSI or less, because you don't want some big air tool that mechanics use on their cars to just blow some air across the surface of a marker. The reason I started to tell you that this was a little more expensive, it may be a little quieter than some of the cheaper ones you can get. I mean, I don't think that's a big deal. It's not worth hundreds of dollars to me. But okay, so now I've let all the air out of this. The reason to keep it off is because then I think it just protects, you know, it probably will make these connections last longer if you don't have constant pressure on it. I got this and this air adapter, the trigger and the air adapter, and I can't remember exactly if anything else came with it. I don't think so. For about $30 from Dick Blick, and it's called the ABS 3, which means it will work with Copic markers, but this is not really compressed air. It's an adapter, so that you don't have to buy those cans of air. You can buy just the cans of air. I don't know if it's ABS 1 or ABS 2, but the ABS 3 has this little adapter on the bottom. So you can see this is air can adapter. Means it looks like one of those air cans, and it connects to your trigger in exactly the same way. But on the bottom, it has this little, I think it's a 1/4-inch screw. Let's see if this here screws into this. Now, for the benefit of Sue, who's hearing that hissing sound, I don't see any kind of gasket or rubber piece here, and all I see is like a little screw top on the trigger. I don't see any kind of gasket to seal it off there, and I don't ever hear any hissing from this, so I do think something's defective in your setup. Now here could be the culprit, is there's a little green hard plastic something right here. Maybe that seal is not perfect on yours, in which case you could either put some silicone sealant in there. It probably would take maybe a day or two to completely cure. If you come to the conclusion that it is the can and not the hose, I would go on Amazon, fill out a return form, and they'll send you a brand new one. You probably have it in a day or two, and they'll tell you exactly how to send that back, and it won't cost you anything to send it back, but they'll replace it in a hurry. So it's not like you're going to have to wait weeks to get it back. Now, if it is the hose, take a look at this. The hose, my hose connection does have a little red rubber gasket right here. I would suspect that maybe your hose is missing that, and if it is, now I don't know, since you got yours at Harbor Freight, if it came from Harbor Freight, I can't really say whether Harbor Freight looks like this or not. I have an idea of how to determine if you're hearing some leaking. If I was thinking, how will she be able to tell whether it's the seal on the hose, the connector, or the seal on the adapter can? And my idea is to go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Aaron Brothers Art Mart. All those places carry these air hoses, and also Harbor Freight. And probably $10 or $20, you could purchase one of these, bring it home and hook it up and hook it to your air can. Well, I don't know if they all have this little seal or not, but if you connect this, which looks like about a 1/4 inch, if you connect this, a new hose to this, and it's still leaking, then I think it's a pretty good bet that the hissing you hear is coming from that can. In which case, I would send it back to Amazon. They'll send the new can before they ever even pick this up, probably. So you'll never be without it. Even if your other one's hissing, you can still play with your new toy while you're waiting. You have 30 days to return it back. So they care very much about feedback and reviews and stuff. So they're very anxious to please. So what the other thing I was going to show you really quick, people are looking for a compatible compressor. If you go to one of these hobby places for people who are painting little parts for war games or model trains or RC cars, airplanes, remote control airplanes, all those places also carry airbrush stuff because all those hobbyists also use airbrush and probably small airbrushes for, you know, the same kind of purpose, and would probably have good recommendations for a compressor and would have some parts. If you want to know what's going to fit onto this and the people you're talking to aren't familiar with this Copic adapter, I can tell you that they'll know what this is. This is a Iwata Eclipse HPCS, and it's a well-known airbrush, dual action airbrush. And I can tell you that whatever fits on this Copic thing also fits right here onto, it's the same size as a Iwata Eclipse airbrush. So if you go to Hobby Lobby, they carry Iwata Eclipse airbrushes, they carry parts for it, they carry all kinds of replacement parts for it, and they also carry this compressor hose, and the hose probably comes with this little adapter. So I don't know exactly what size that is, but it's the same size as a standard dual action airbrush. You know, this is a really good airbrush, I think, but I hardly ever used it because it's really a pain to clean. Every time you change colors, you've got to open this up and run some cleaner through there, then put some more color in, and then when you're done for the day, you got to take this whole thing apart and take all these little tiny precision pieces and soak them in solvent to get any of the paint off, or it'll get gummed up and then you'll break your expensive airbrush. And it's just a pain in the butt for if you're just trying to paint a little background on a card. I don't even remember what I bought it for, but I'm not sure it was such a wise purchase. Maybe someday I'll end up using it. But ever since I got this for 30 bucks, I use this little compressor all the time. Until then, all I ever used this for was blasting air off of my equipment and my computer equipment and my keyboard, which is very handy for. So I hope that helps. Watch my other video about other markers that you can use in this Copic trigger besides just the expensive Copic markers. You can also use a Zig marker, and I tell you about that in the other video, and a Bic Market with a little bit of modification. So watch that, and I hope this helps Sue or anybody else who is trying to rig up your own little system. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye, guys.